Hello. Do you have a home or do you know a homeowner who needs help repairing their home? Today, we're going to talk about the Community Development Block Grant Program and also a partner program that helps Farmington Hills residents upgrade their houses. Charmaine.
Yes.
Thank you for coming.
You're welcome.
All right. And so we're here today with Charmaine Kettler from the Planning Department for the City of Farmington Hills. Can you tell us a little bit about what your position is in the Planning Department?
I am the Community Development Coordinator, which means that I handle the Community Development Block Grant funds.
Okay. And so Community Development Block Grant, we're probably going to be hearing CDBG a lot today, which that's the short for Community Development Block Grant. Can you tell us a little bit about the history of the program?
The program was initiated in Farmington Hills 40 years ago, and so it's got a long history within the community. It's a federally funded grant fund that provides funding for capital projects, for home repair, and there are a few other smaller things that we fund, including assistance to Haven and Common Ground.
Okay. So you said it's a federally funded program.
Yes.
We've been doing it in Farmington Hills for about 40 years.
We've been doing it here for 38.
38. Oh, okay. And so what exactly are we doing with these funds? So what are the CDBG funds used for?
We use them for a home repair program called the Housing Rehabilitation Program, which provides zero interest loans to income qualified homeowners within Farmington Hills. The updates on guidelines is provided to us each year by HUD, which is the Housing and Urban Development Department of the U.S. government. And we also do capital projects, which are larger funded projects every year or two, depending on how our funds are accumulating. Last year we did a upgrade and installation at the Old Town Park of a playground structure for children and pathways to connect sidewalks and walking paths within the park itself, and a few other minor updates and changes within the park itself. We've done drainage improvements. We've got a sidewalk project coming up in addition to a roadway restoration that's being funded by the city on Gill. We've done other major improvements, including water line installations, that sort of thing.
So this is a very exciting program. Just to recap very quickly, federal funds. These are grant funds to the city, so the city is not repaying these funds to the federal government.
Correct.
All right. So, and then you did say that it was income eligible.
Yes.
So let's talk a little bit about not the capital projects, but going back to the home rehab program. What are the guidelines for being able to qualify to use those dollars in that way?
Well, the guidelines are provided to us each year by HUD. That's based on information that's developed through the U.S. Census and other income factors that they collect within the greater Metro Detroit area. And what we're going to do is I'm going to provide that so that we can flash it up on the screen so everybody can see. Right. It's based on number of people within the household. Yes. And the overall income of every person over the age of 18 within the home. So the conglomerate of that is the income basis, and if it's above for the household, they cannot be qualified into the program for a loan.
All right. And so, okay, so the money comes into the city from the federal government, and then the city can use that money to help qualified homeowners do different repairs around the house.
Yes, any repair that is necessary to create a decent and safe living environment within the home can qualify for a home repair loan. Okay. All of our applications are reviewed by a volunteer group called our loan board. Okay. And they give us direction on priorities for the year. So whatever funding we have available, they look through whatever applications come in, make sure that we meet those qualifications, the bottom baseline. Right. And then if they determine one is a higher priority than another, they'll give direction to staff in what order to move forward on bidding competitively for the work to be completed.
Okay.
And it's everything from roof to siding, windows, furnace, sometimes well or septic replacements are necessary. So anything that makes the home livable. We don't get into things such as scraping and painting. That's more of a maintenance issue.
Okay.
And we have partners in the community that help out with that. So we don't have that included in our program. We don't do remodeling of kitchens. We don't do anything on the exterior of the property. Outbuildings, fences, driveways is not something that's handled through our program.
Okay. But you did say windows.
I did say windows,
And,
yes.
and roofing.
Yes.
Okay.
It's attached to the home is
Okay.
the difference.
Yes.
A driveway is not part of the home, and it doesn't make it a safe, decent place to live.
All right, excellent. Now, you also said that it's income eligible.
Yes.
If I were to go to the city's website, could I determine whether or not I was eligible? Is there
Yes, we have the information posted on the city webpage, which is fhgov.com, through the community development tab.
Okay, and so then we'll flash a link on how to get there. Now, if I wanted to talk with you and I had some questions about my eligibility, or I had some questions about how to apply, how could I find you?
My email is ckettler@fhgov.com, and the phone number to my office is 248-871-2543. And feel free to give calls. There's always unique circumstances with homeowners. Sometimes there's questions about previously having gone through a bankruptcy, or usually what pops up is questions about ownership of the property in the home. There can be complications with inheritance through family members and others that may or may not be available.
Okay.
So we can work that out with the property owners, whether they'll fit within the program or not.
All right, but you know what? That's actually a very great question, which I hadn't thought of until you brought it up. I'm not the homeowner. I am either leasing the home or I am buying the home on a land contract. But the home has issues that need to be addressed. Is there something through your program that can address it? Or do you have a partner that you work with that you can refer me to have those issues addressed?
Not for homes that are leased,
Okay.
but for homes that are under land contract, we can assist property homeowners that are occupying the home that fit within that income level, if we can verify that the ownership is, the owner is giving sign off for permission. Because what happens is once we've got the bids and the contracts pulled up, there's a lien placed on the home.
Okay.
The home is collateral, and so we need to make sure that the property owners give permission for this to happen.
Okay. So before we go to break here, another question that came to my mind is, what if I am, a young college graduate, first job, new to the community? Have you ever worked with anyone like that in your program?
We have had homeowners that are either current students or have recently completed their education. As long as they're fitting within the income guideline for the current year, they can work through our program for home repairs.
Okay. So that's a great thing. Now, one of the things that we talked about off camera and that we kind of got into a little bit is that sometimes there are individuals or homes that don't meet your guidelines, but you do have some partners that you work with.
Right. We don't handle certain types of work that are considered a little bit more labor intensive and not so trade specific as far as a contractor knowledge necessary in order to complete. And we do have some nonprofit partners and partners within the community that assist with homeowners who have those particular needs. The Senior Center with the city can assist with home chore programs. Rebuilding Together is a great nonprofit organization that assists homeowners who need more along the lines of labor intensive rather than trade specific work completed. There's also assistance through Oakland County for whatever homeowners might need.
And then we can get all of that information by contacting you or also by looking on the website.
Yes, and a lot of times property owners have questions that are specific to their personal needs, and so a conversation can really bring out specifically which partner would be best to assist them.
Okay, so we're going to go to break, but when we come back, we're going to have a representative here from Rebuilding Together.
Yes.
And then we're going to answer some more questions.
Yes.
Thank you.
What does hope look like? It's in the rising walls of a home rebuilt, raising the spirit of a community reborn. What does heart sound like? It's in the rhythm of nails pounded into wood, a beat driven by the conviction that inspiration can overcome desperation. What does home feel like? It's in the faces of Americans who built generations of memories in their home and then saw it slipping away, until friends they had never met turned out to lend a hand. For more than 30 years, Rebuilding Together has spread hope to homeowners in need, providing free home rehabilitation, making homes safer and more energy efficient. This is a place where you can turn dreams into reality. Go to rebuildingtogether.org and share the feeling of home.
Thank you for coming back. Charmaine, you said that you brought someone with you from Rebuilding Together?
Yes, Frank Reed is here today with us. He is the local representative of Rebuilding Together, and with all the great work they do in the community, I thought it would be helpful to have him along to explain their organization and all the opportunities that are available for sponsorships and volunteers and great work that they do for our community.
Great, thanks for bringing them today. Frank.
Thank you for the invitation. I appreciate it.
Oh no, we're very excited to have you here. We want to learn a little bit more about Rebuilding Together. So if you could just tell us briefly, what is the organization and when did it start?
Well, we've been a national organization for the last 25 years, local here to Oakland County for about 24 years, and then it's been in presence in the Farmington Hills communities for the last 10. So we've done about 1,000 projects in Oakland County, and we just completed our 100th project last year here in Farmington Hills.
100 projects right here.
Projects, yep.
All right, so what was the big 100th project?
You know, we didn't recognize one as the 100th,
right,
but
yes.
But we've completed 100 and have brought literally millions of dollars of added value back to the community via our volunteers and materials.
So when I was talking to Charmaine before, we were talking about the community development block grant program and her housing rehab, and she said there were some things that her program could not do that your program does address. So could we talk briefly about what Rebuilding Together can actually address?
Well, typically we use very similar guidelines in terms of income to assess the availability of our program for the homeowner. So they would make an application, and again, it has to be an owned home or land contract. Figure out if their means qualifies them for our program. And then we'll send, typically myself and another person, to kind of do an overall assessment. Then we'll assign a house captain and a team, typically from the faith community who are members. We also have businesses. LOC is a good example. So we have a lot of different partners who gather teams together, pay a sponsorship fee, and then participate in the workday.
Okay, so the workday, is there a specific day every year
There
that you're
is.
out doing these projects?
A week from Saturday is our workday this year, April 30th. And so you'll see a bunch of folks at 10 different locations in Farmington Hills working on homes. There'll probably be something like 350 volunteers. And typically what the house captain will do then is compile a list of what needs to get done. And it's usually a variety of things that obviously a contractor would have a hard time figuring out how to pull the right team together, but that's exactly what we do. So there might be 40 or 50 different things that are going to get accomplished during that workday, and our teams will get those done.
All right, and so let's just take an example, no addresses or anything like that, but let's think about a house that you've done in the past, and what types of things happened at that house on the workday?
Well, we've done everything from literally remove an entire kitchen and rebuilding it from the ground up. So every cabinet, all the appliances, all of the plumbing, lighting gets redone. So we've done things on that scale in terms of a very ambitious project. We've painted the entire outside of homes. We've replaced windows. We've redone decks, added ramps for handicap situations. So it's kind of, you name it, we do it, but it's going to have to be substantial enough to warrant, for the build day, the work day, enough to justify that level of volunteer effort.
Well, and so that's a very good question that I wanted to get into. Where do these volunteers come from?
They volunteer through their churches or through their work. They volunteer because they've heard about it, or we've also had prior homeowners who want to give back and kind of pay forward for the good work that was done for them, join on a team and provide those services for the next person.
And then with the CDBG program, we know that the Community Development Block Grant funds come from the federal government. Where do the funds come from for Rebuilding Together?
Through the home sponsorship. So let's say it's a company or a faith community, they'll pay a sponsorship fee, and that'll help defray the costs of the project for their homeowner. We also get some funds through the city, through the block grant, Community Development Block Grant system, to help facilitate that effort and provide some of the materials, some of the more costly materials that we might encounter.
Okay, so this is a very coordinated effort between Rebuilding Together, the city Community Development Block Grant Program, which determines what it can and can't do with its funds, but then also brings you in and you raise funds through, as a 501c3, you raise funds through regular donations, but also through specific companies that decide to do sponsorships for you, and then they bring out a workforce during that day that actually comes and does the work on the property.
That's correct.
And then just like any other property in the city that's being worked on, we're pulling the permits, we're doing all of those types of things. So I imagine that you have a very sophisticated system of how to let individuals come in and volunteer with you. So if you could tell us just a little bit about, I'm out there, I want to volunteer, or I'm out there, I think my company may want to sponsor a home. How do I get in touch with you? What do I do?
It's very simple. On our website, which is Rebuilding Together, all one word, dash Oakland County, all one word, .org, there are tabs to click to volunteer, and that'll take you through the step-by-step process of how to do that. And our folks will then reach out and make sure that you've got all the information you need to make an assessment as to whether this is something that your organization or faith community can undertake.
Okay. Now, I'm thinking about doing this, my company, but we are an IT firm or we are an engineering firm. And there's a lot of us, we're willing to get out there and get dirty, but we're not plumbers, we're not roofers. In the home that we're looking at, it needs some plumbing. Is there some way that you help us coordinate getting that skilled trade set?
Yep, we can typically assign other folks to your team that have the skill sets to fill in where you might not have those represented in your team.
So I should not be worried about specific skill sets as long as I'm willing to, sponsor the house and get my team out there to do what we can.
Absolutely. And even if you have a fairly narrow set of skills, we can find a project that'll be appropriate for your team.
Now that is awesome to hear. So if we can go back to Charmaine just briefly. So Charmaine, how do you determine what's a good project to move over to Rebuilding Together?
It would typically be one that is more concentrated on a higher level of labor intensity versus skilled trade.
Okay.
Or one that would be difficult for a group of volunteers. They typically don't do, through Rebuilding Together, a complete roof replacement. There's some liability that's at issue. There may not be enough folks with skills that can address what needs to happen with that particular homeowner. And they have more volunteer-heavy participation rather than monetary heavy participation. Whereas my program, we can put out whatever is necessary for the contractor in skilled trades to complete the job. whereas yard cleanup or scrape and paint the house is not something that's going to be done through my program. So if I refer it over to their organization, I know that they can get that done, and when the roof needs to be replaced, we'll either go in right before or just after to complement what the volunteers are up to through Rebuilding Together to complete the home. So we'll have not only referrals to, but a partnership with.
Okay, and so then as we wrap up here, just a couple of quick things. If you could again tell us how to get in contact with you for the CDBG program.
The phone number to my office is 248-871-2543, or through my email, ckettler@fhgov.com. The city webpage has great information for folks that are researching, but for specific questions with people's circumstances or what we can and can't do within those guidelines, my office directly is the best option.
Okay, and then one thing that we didn't really get into, but I do want to make sure that we cover, we talked about it being income-based, but is it also geographically based?
No, not for individual homeowners.
Okay.
There is a geographical basis for larger projects that we do on the ground, such as the park project that I mentioned, or sidewalks, roads, utility installations. Those are area specific, and just for information's sake, those can change year by year.
Okay. And Charmaine, one more question that popped into my mind. You had mentioned that there are loans for the homeowners through the CDBG program. What are the interest rates on those loans?
Yes, there is zero interest for the rehab loans. It is a deferred loan which uses the home as collateral. What we do is we file a lien on the property, and that stays in place until the loan is repaid or until the home changes hands. So if it's sold or transferred to a new owner, that is the time that the loan gets paid back. It's the original amount of the contract.
That's awesome. So quick recap of that. CDBG program, federal dollars that the city can use to help homeowners rehab their home, find out all of the different projects online that are eligible. But then that loan is a zero interest loan that can be deferred either until the homeowner can actually make the payments or until the property is sold, at which point whatever the value of the CDBG dollars that were spent on the home have to be repaid at the time of sale.
That's correct.
That is a great program. Thanks for adding that.
You're welcome.
And then coming back over here, let's get all of the great contact information.
Well, again, everything's available on the website, which is rebuildingtogether.oaklandcounty.org. So all of our contact numbers, emails, everything you need to get going, and to volunteer, which we'd urge you to do. It's a little late for this year, but probably next year in terms of bringing together a whole team that's ready to work on a home. I'd also say that we're looking for qualified homeowners. A lot of times people's worlds kind of get smaller as they move down the wage scale, and so we need their neighbors and concerned individuals, relatives, to kind of point out who it is who may need these kinds of services to make sure that they are living in a healthy, safe environment. That's our focus.
And then one more thing that we talked about before, you do have the very large project that's coming up on April 30th. But as you said, it's maybe not going to make it for the April 30th this year. But are there opportunities throughout the year to still get involved with Rebuilding Together?
Yes, there are. We have out-of-cycle projects, and we have quick repair projects that we can do throughout the year. So if a homeowner has a faucet that has stopped working, we can jump over and get that done. If they have even a fairly major project that needs to get done, let's say a wheelchair ramp, we can do that out of cycle.
Okay, well, I'd like to thank both of you for joining us today. We've got all of your contact information. We know that what we really want is for anyone who even thinks that they may possibly, forget about whether you think you're going to qualify. Anyone who has a property and is looking for assistance should go online, look at the programs, or give you a call.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes, absolutely. Well, thank you both for coming. Is there anything else that we missed?
No, I
think
think
we're
we're
good.
good.
All right. Well, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
and thank you for joining us today.